to listen in and participate in our show. Family time is about your issues, your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. Stay with us, listen in, and please join in. My name is Halcyon Reed, and I'll be your host for this evening. So, COVID 19, almost 1 year later, it's still affecting us, affecting the world, and how we interact with each other. And while some of us may have found ways to cope and thrive, many of our teens haven't. We see the danger signs, but do they? Do they know that they're lonely, sad, abused, scared, threatened, or even disconnected? We want to help them this evening. We want to help our teens identify the warning signs that they themselves are in danger and perhaps in this process steer them away from it. Teens in danger, COVID 19. That's our discussion for today. Are you a teenager? How are you coping with at this time? How are you coping with COVID 19 at this time? Are you happy? Are your communication, interaction, and emotional needs being met? Tell us, as a teenager, are you able to identify the warning signs that your COVID 19 situation is not safe? WhatsApp your text or voice notes. Make sure they're no longer than 30 seconds, though, to 876-997-3125. Or you may post on the Love 101 Facebook page. Or you could call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 968-8328 to participate. And throughout the program, we'll share what you share. Today's program is for our teenagers as we discuss Teens in Danger, COVID 19. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101. Our topic today is Teens in Danger, COVID 19. And our question to our teens today is, as a teenager, are you able to identify the warning signs that your COVID 19 situation is not safe? WhatsApp your text and voice notes. Make sure they're no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125 or post on the Love 101 Facebook page. Or you may call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 968-8328 to participate. And throughout the program, we'll share your thoughts. Here to spend the following hour with us is Angelica Dalrymple, an associate applied psychologist and a guidance counselor in education. She represents Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education in the capacity of Chair of Education Committee. She has experience working with teens and parents, both locally and internationally. Welcome, Ms. Dalrymple. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Alcyon. Good afternoon, all teens in Jamaica. And I want to thank you, Alcyon, for welcoming the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education on your Family Time program. We are happy to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you. And just before we jump into our conversation with you today, I'd like to highlight our verse for today. It's from Psalm 121, verse 7 to 8. It says, "The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore." So, Ms. Dalrymple, what are your thoughts today on the challenges teen face? You know, the emotional, physical, mental, social. Let's talk about the emotional first. I think you're muted. I'm not hearing you.
Thank you very much. I
Okay.
want to say this, that teens face many and diverse challenges. And a body of research has suggested that teen years are potentially risky, and that is based on the myriad of biological, physical, mental, and social changes that are relatively inevitable. So that's number one. And all these changes are simultaneous, and they are inextricably linked to the developmental stage. So your question is so appropriate, because whether or not we have additional external challenges to
Mhm.
foster or to impose anything, they already have been going through challenges as it relates to their unique development. So you asked
Right.
the question earlier on, do they know that they are lonely, sad, disconnected? My answer to that would be yes and no, because they feel the emotions. They know that something is
Mhm.
different, but they may not know the meaning of the emotions or the source that is causing those emotions. So this evening, one of the things that I think we should leave them with is to better understand what they're going through.
Yes. And how can we do that? How do we do that to help them? Are you muted again? I'm
Biologically, they're going. Are you
Or
hearing me
could you
now?
start that sentence again?
I said biologically they are going through changes, and that's their physical change, and that alone impose emotions on some of them. Some of them
Mhm.
really feel sad and down and feel like they're not
Mhm.
themselves, are not able to really, find their self-esteem, and especially in a time like this when they are trying to find their identity, some of them struggle with it. And especially if other persons add negative things to it, it makes it so difficult for them. And emotions are what adolescents or teens have. And
Mhm.
this cannot be mitigated because it's their development, in the sense that the discrepancy between the development of the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, that discrepancy is one big reasons why they are at risk, because the amygdala, it processes information about emotions, as opposed to the frontal lobe that has the higher level reasoning and thinking. Now if you understand that they are geared to emotions because the amygdala is matured, it's matured while the front lobal is not matured, so they are not able to reason things, so they just jump into anything. And because they're so emotional, they have this appetitive value, they have the excitement, and they just want to play and all of those things. And it's all connected to their mental, the brain. So the brain is not yet developed fully, it is still developing. So we need to better understand them and help them to understand themselves, so that the control system can come in play. The danger, right? There are many positive and negative emotions. Even before COVID, they were having them. So now that COVID come, the impact of COVID may even camouflage, exacerbate, or disguise some of these emotions because they are already there. So sometimes they don't know that it's COVID causing this, or even parents would not know that it's COVID causing this, or the additional
Mhm.
cause of whatever. So it is a time for teens where we need to pay attention to them and help them to be more attentive to themselves. And there are
Yeah.
emotional swings, not to mention the social challenges, because
Right.
COVID mandatorily imposed social challenges. which eventually can lead to social isolation because we have to stay home, the children have to stay home. And when you talk about staying home, the social distancing, that in itself may just foster the social isolation among teens, because there is this theorist and a renowned one, Bronfenbrenner, in his ecological system theory. He views the teens development in the context of system relationships that exist in the environment. So when they're going into the homes now from school, it's like something is taken away from them, and it's not necessarily the academic, it's about the relationship that is fostered among themselves and their friends. And here we can zero in on the family and the school, because when we think about Bronfenbrenner theory of the micro and the meso system, we can really relate to the school and the family right here. One is the immediate and one is the larger system. And the theory postulates that changes in one affect the other. So changes in school, COVID said, go home, it's going to affect even the relationship at home.
Yes, so wow, that sounds like a mouthful, Miss Dalrymple. So I'm sure you have a lot more to share with us.
If you want it, I'll give it to you.
We definitely want it this afternoon. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. And our topic today is Teen in Danger, COVID-19. But don't forget to tell us, as a teenager, are you able to identify the warning signs that your COVID-19 situation is not safe? WhatsApp your text or voice notes no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125, or you may post on the Love 101 Facebook page. Or you could call the studio lines at 968-8327 or 8328 to participate. Also, I'm encouraging you to friend us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries, follow us on Instagram at FLMJA, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries, FLMJA. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Family Time. Our guest is Angelica Dalrymple, an associate applied psychologist and guidance counselor in education. She represents Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education, so she's very suited to be a part of our discussion today. It's on Teens in Danger, COVID-19. Our question is, as a teenager, are you able to identify the warning signs that your COVID-19 situation is not safe? WhatsApp your text or voice notes. Make sure they're no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125, or post on the Love 101 Facebook page or call the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 8328 to participate. Throughout the program, we'll share what you share. Welcome back, Ms. Dalrymple. So we want to
Thank you,
hear,
Alcion.
yeah. So what dangerous situations or signs should teens be aware of, whether psychologically, physically, or so on, socially, as you put
Well,
it?
as we relate to COVID, thank you for the question. As we relate to COVID, and we mention the different aspects of how they can be impacted. Let me start with the social isolation. I think a lot of people can connect with this even easier. Social
Right.
isolation basically maybe a strong term, but it is basically that they are not with their friends anymore. Being out of school minimizes social interaction. And
Right.
it's a social interaction is a crucial component of their development. As you know, children grow and develop when they interact with their peers. This particular stage tells you that. Now, social isolation, as they may be experiencing, as we said, not being with their friends is a recipe for feelings of loneliness. So even though they're in their homes and mother, father, sister, brothers are there, their friends are not there. And it's a recipe for loneliness. And that loneliness is about them feeling disconnected. The disconnection can also exacerbate in the home because that feeling of loneliness can take them into distress, anxiety, irrational thinking, lethargy, and all of those things can breed negative interpersonal relationship in the home and cause also them to be disconnected from their own parents and others in the home. So it is something that is dangerous and should be looked out for. Now, you ask some of the signs. Some of the signs, they will be like withdrawn. And as I mentioned, lethargy, they're not doing anything. The parents could ask them to the shores more than not doing anything because from ever since teenagers don't like to work. They don't
Yeah,
like
that's
to do
true.
shores. But no, it is so mentally ingrained in their psyche in terms of what is happening to them. So it's not just don't like it now, it's that they are not having that energy, that enthusiasm, things not happening. They're having conflict in their minds. And
Right.
one of the major thing is the silence. So you asked about a sign, silence. Some of them not saying anything. And some of them may be doing self-mutilation because they're trying to escape what is going on in their psyche, in their minds. There are others who will try to leave the home, and you call it runaways. So there are many kind of things that will happen. How parents identify it? Some will, some won't. Parents who are very close to their children and know how the children respond even when they're sad, happy, and stuff. If you see that there's an intense or continuous kind of behavior, meaning if there's a consistency in the behavior, it's time to know that this is not the usual thing. Something else is happening. So parents have to be looking out for that. The child herself or himself need to understand self to know that, listen, no man, when I used to feel sad when mommy talk, 2 days I get over it. But now it keeps coming back. Now I don't feel like waking up at all. I just feel like I should have just sleep. Even to go on my online class, I just can't bother. So things like those are signs that parents and students themselves should be aware of, especially the younger teens, those who are just coming out to school, grade 7, grade 8. They need to pay attention to that. Parents need to pay attention because they are not yet seasoned into the system, especially the new cohort. They are not yet seasoned into the system. And it's likely that even with the challenges with the online learning, because that is also a COVID imposition, many of them are not doing well with the online. Yes, they are accustomed to something and the change to something else is causing them problems. Maybe they would have done well if they learned to adapt easily. But the fact that they are not, that can create a level of anxiety. They don't even want to wake up. They want to go online and things like those. So there are many things that we could talk about.
Right. So you speak about the parents trying to spot these signs or symptoms, but what about the teachers? What can they look out for? Because I'm thinking that the children, the teenagers, will be spending most of their day in online classes with their teachers. Parents are probably doing their online work as well. Is there anything that that can be telling for the teachers who are working with these teens?
That's a very good question, but it can be a
Mhm.
tricky one because the
Okay.
teachers are not actually interacting with the students face to face anymore. So we
Right.
call it observation of behavior. Counselors in education know that
Mhm.
observation of behavior. So they don't even see them to observe, but they could probably track their responses, if they are
Mhm.
responding yes or no to the online,
Mhm.
if they are coming to class yes or no, if the work is being done and the kind of work that is being done, because you may have had a student who is doing very well and all of a sudden you realize that the work is getting a little sloppy. Those
Mhm.
are things that you could look at and see how well you can mitigate by reaching out to the parent, reaching out to the child, reaching out to the school counselor to see what can be done to see and to ensure.
Mhm.
Dangerous signs that the teacher may not see, because the child, him or herself, might have um, loss of self-esteem. The teacher is not
Mhm.
seeing that in terms of, even if it would show in the child's clothing, because sometimes when they lose self-esteem, they don't dress properly.
Right.
That kind of thing. So there is like nothing that you can
Mhm.
see except if you hear the voice, or if you see the work comes in or the work doesn't come in.
Mhm.
You,
Wow.
you have the self-worth being eroded in a time like this.
Mhm.
And some of them blame themselves. They just wish these things would go away. A lot of them, instead of adapting, they're just
Mhm.
wishing that COVID would go away. And the fact is,
Yeah.
COVID is here. So that also can trigger a lot of negative
Mhm.
thoughts and feelings. Some of them are not
Mhm.
sleeping well.
Mhm.
How teachers can identify this is, if you have a talk, the child is coming late to class and you have a talk with the child, and the child may say, Miss, I woke up late. And I mean, this is consistent. I don't mean like one morning. This is consistent.
Mhm.
And you recognize that the child is waking up late. You
Mhm.
probably can relate to it. What is happening? Why this child is waking up late? Find
Mhm.
some means and way to find out, because behaviors are always stories. Behaviors are messages, so we
Yeah.
can watch some of the behaviors. Sleeping affected, some of them not eating well.
Mhm.
Personal hygiene. You see, if they were in the school space, the teacher would see them come and laying down on the desk sleeping, and the crying that different things would have been shown up more than even now. Not to mention the personal hygiene. We are not
Mhm.
around to know if they're having a bath, yes or no. And some
Yeah.
of them, I mean, it's December, the water is cold, but I'm talking before December and even after December, to have a bath. When you feel those
Mhm.
feelings, and even adults, when adults go through this kind of mental challenge, they don't even want to do anything. So we have to understand and try to help them. They don't feel
So,
pretty anymore. Yes, go ahead.
right. So sometimes it's easier for another person to see the signs. So your parents may notice or your teachers may notice, but how can we help these teens to identify these things within themselves a little more quickly? So that it doesn't get to a place, a worse place. What are some simple things that we can say to them to look out for?
They know before we know. It's just that they don't know the meaning of it and probably
Right.
source of it. What they
Okay.
need, because there's always a conflict in the mind, because the
Mhm.
feelings are there, the emotions are there. Remember, we have a brain, and when
Mhm.
things are not the normal, as we would say, then there's a
Mhm.
conflict, there's a headache,
Mhm.
there's a discrepancy. I can't, and I'm frustrated.
Mhm.
Those kind of feelings, when you're having those kind of feelings, you know that something is wrong, so they know. But the
Mhm.
problem that we may have with them, and they may have
Mhm.
with themselves, is that they remain silent.
Right.
So that's a
Okay.
big one, the
Okay.
silence, because they're wishing it away and they're hoping that it will not um, happen. Another
Mhm.
thing is, we need to always create an environment for them to feel relax, that they can talk.
Mm-hmm.
So the silence is not just their fault. Sometimes they just believe that if they talk, I'm going to run them away. They're going to say, go and sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is wrong with you because you didn't want to wash up the dishes. And because I tell you to do this, that kind of thing. Not
Mm-hmm.
understanding. Parents need to identify the differences. So they
Mm-hmm.
can't identify differences if they did
Mm-hmm.
not know what was there before.
Right. And that's an interesting point that you touch on, and I would love for us to discuss that a little bit further when we come back. So, listeners, you've been listening to Family Time on Love 101, produced by Family Life Ministries. Have you answered your question or questioners yet? Not a problem, but do it quickly. As a teenager, are you able to identify the warning signs that your COVID-19 situation is not safe? Tell us by WhatsApp text or voice notes, no longer than 30 seconds. 876-997-3125, or post on the Love 101 Facebook page, or call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8 to participate. We want to hear from you. When we come back, Lady Angelica will still be here discussing with us. So we'll be back in a few. Welcome back to Family Time. It's now 1 minute to 6, and you're tuned into Love 101. This is Family Time brought to you by Family Life Ministries. FLM provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of this program, or check our website at familylifeministriesjamaica.com. Remember, we're Facebook and YouTube Live, so tune into the program via the Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel. So let's continue with our discussion, Miss Dalrymple. So we were talking about the warning signs, right? That the teenagers may be showing, right? So now they know the signs. What's next? How do we deal with that?
Well, the children themselves need to know some strategies, because when we talk about irrational thinking, it's what's going through their minds. And sometimes, as I said before, they do not speak. You may see some behaviors, but nothing will change if we just try to impose external things without having their minds being
Mhm.
conditioned to the change agents. So, one of the things that we would want to say is, one, break your silence, pray about it, especially those of you who are connected to God, you go to church and your parents taught you. Pray about it. And that will help you to break your silence, because when you are going to pray, you must tell God about it. So he's the first one you're going to
Mhm.
talk to about. Now, when you do
Okay.
that, it might give you the courage to speak
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
somebody else. Always try to talk to persons who you can trust. And that is, I really don't like to say this because teens are so trusting, and some of the people who they trust just exacerbate the problems and make it worse for them, right? In the sense that they bring hurt to them. And we know that, whether church, school, wherever, you have some persons there that the children think that they could trust. No, the child, him or herself, can practice something like thought stopping. So if the child understands, and the child would understand that there are things that are causing me this headache, there are things that are bothering me, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling angry, and it won't go away. It's not just because mommy said something today. I'm just feeling that way. I'm feeling down, de-energized, and all of that. Think about what is coming into your mind. What makes you feel so? Because you're not going to school where your friends are? That may be so. And when you think about it, you're going to say, okay, COVID is on.
Right.
So you stop thinking that I have to go to my friends, because you're going to think of safety. You're going to think of the reason why you're not at school with your friends, and you're going to prioritize your safety as opposed. So it's not a very easy thing, but it's purposeful and it's meaningful. So the thoughts that are coming, I'm not going to go to school, my friends are there, I'm in the home, and I have to be taking care of my siblings, and that too. You have to be taking care of my siblings, and mommy wants me to do everything. And mommy thinks that when I do schoolwork, it's not work, so I'm not tired. I can only be tired if I'm washing the dishes and cleaning the house, that kind of thing. You have to stop some of those thoughts. The reframing part is think of it differently. Think of an alternative. Think of the fact that this is what we have. You're not the only one going through COVID challenges. COVID didn't come for you. It just came to the whole world.
Yeah.
So you have to survive. So you have to adapt. And the adapting is understand that you can't go out there. And if you're going even out there, you have to be wearing your mask and still social distancing. So that is another part you just have to accept and adapt. And you have to be hopeful. You have to be hopeful. And then the relaxation is important. Because when you're at home and you feel this kind of way, you don't even want to do any exercise. And whether they are smaller like me or bigger than me, they still don't want to do any exercise. So exercise is very good, because let me tell you what exercise can do for you. The dopamine, that hormone, dopamine, the happy hormone. So when you do the exercise, you get excited. It brings a pleasure to you. So you start feeling better. And when you start feeling better, you know that every day you can get up and do a little exercise and start feeling better about yourself. And if you so miss your friends, start writing a little story and use them as a character, so that when COVID is gone, you can read the story to them and probably publish your story, because there's so many things that you can do. Talk to your friend. Okay, don't just write them as a character and write out their names and everything, talk to them. And I spoke to some students, and they said to me, even though they're talking to their friends on the media, it's different, because when they're at school, they can give them a slap and run, they can laugh, they can talk things, and they just are together, and we understand that interaction. So it's kind of different. But call them, text them, and say, listen, you are going to be Granny in this story. It will give you a laugh, because you know that character fits Granny so much. And the other one, you say, okay, you're going to be Miss Dalrymple. She just strict and So bring some life to it. You can also write a comic piece, draw your principal, draw somebody, write a comic piece and have fun and share it with others. Don't just use people's names, just use pseudonyms, use different names, but you have the character in your head and use different names. Parents have to learn to help their children to adapt and to teach them to be hopeful. Hopefulness starts at home. And there was one great one that I know that some children are having, is having family time, family talk with their parents. So anything that they are having, anything that is happening, they have a time for family talk. especially in the Christian homes. I'm not saying it's not elsewhere, don't get me wrong, but especially in the Christian homes, or those homes that should be Christian homes, the family talk, the devotion time, and that time persons can relieve themselves of the way they're feeling and start again. And when it comes again, you're going to start again, you're going to come again, you're going to start again. My point is, every week you have devotion, every week you have family time. So there's not a week where this one is going to be carried over to the next week. And external help is also available.
Right.
External help, because those persons who sometimes have suicide ideation, and the suicide ideation is just like, sure, it doesn't even make sense. I'm here, I just don't feel myself again. School not keep, and this not keeping, and that not keeping. It never makes sense, right? When you think that way, you need to get some help. You need to talk to somebody and get some help, because we don't want to lose any of you. All of you are unique. All of you are amazing. All of you are intriguing. I love you now. I don't even know some of you, but trust me, you are. Let me tell you something. You see, the teen that or this generation, and when I say generation, I mean the developmental generation of teens. Listen, no other developmental span beats this developmental span. You talk about resilience, look into teenagers. They are the most resilient humans. Why? They have so many challenges, and yet some of them soar to new heights. They have so many challenges, and some of them, when you think they are done and out, they get a little therapy and they're up. While some of us adults just lose our job, we're dead for life.
Yeah, we had someone commenting earlier. I think it was Jennifer, saying that the teens, they tend to keep it all inside, and it's killing them. And most importantly, we need to pray for them, encourage them, and keep on communicating with them. So that's a comment from Jennifer.
Exactly. We talk about the silence, and I cannot overemphasize the silence. The silence is just not going to be accepted at all. They need to talk.
Yeah.
And so we are not around to look at the behaviors and just pull them over and say, what's happening, man? So we have to help them to talk.
Yeah. So in your line of work, have you come upon a lot of teens with these issues?
Well, for the loneliness, I remember when COVID started about in June of last year. Before it went down to June and it just started, in March, I did a survey among the population I worked with. And at that time, they felt safe being home. But as the time progressed and as COVID did not go away, we started hearing the loneliness. I actually did another survey, and that would be generalized in the school because it was for all the cohorts in the school. They were lonely. They were sad, and we could go to all the emotions that were not nice. So before, we looked at their emotions before, we looked at during COVID, and we looked at what we called after COVID. But they let us know that it is not after COVID because COVID is not yet done.
It's still keeping.
Right. Yeah. So the answer is yes, we have seen these coming out of our children. And it was so much more among those younger teens.
So what are some of the strategies that you're employing, as a counselor to help to deal with these issues with the teens?
Psychosocial programs, yes, some of them can be had. Well, they can't be had in the physical environment, but we are using the measure that is available. We are using the platforms, and we try to reach out to them. For me personally, in my area of work where I work in my school, I have them online. I have one cohort in my upper school cohort. I have them each day. And let me tell you something. We have been having good times. They talk to me. I talk to them. They open up. I open up. And we help them to be empowered. We help them to adapt. We help them to be hopeful. We help them to be purposeful.
Wow, sounds good.
From the Jamaica Guidance Counselors, the general body, we also across the Breath of Jamaica in every parish. I remember earlier on last year during COVID, we talked online, and different regions would say the things that they have been doing to interact with their students and to help them. So this has been going on across the island.
Okay.
And I'm sure it continues because as an association, we foster this kind of thing because they are our population that we are working with. So we do it. When we can't do it directly, we find other means of way to do it. But we have to help our children, and we are doing so.
Well, thank you so much. Listeners, please keep your comments and your questions coming. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about, you being a teen during COVID-19. Answer our question. As a teenager, are you able to identify the warning signs that your COVID-19 situation is not safe? And by safe, I mean that it's affecting you in some way, whether physically, spiritually, socially, emotionally, let us know. During this break, WhatsApp your text and voice notes no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125, or post on the Love 101 Facebook page, or call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8 to participate. I'm Halcyon, and we will be right back with Miss Angelica Dalrymple. She's an associate applied psychologist and guidance counselor in education. So she has experience working with teens and parents both locally and internationally. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. You're tuned in to Love 101, and it's now 6:15. This is Family Time, brought to you by Family Life Ministries, FLM. FLM provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of this program, or check our website at familylifeministriesjamaica.com. Teens in Danger, COVID-19 is our topic, and Miss Angelica Dalrymple is our guest this afternoon. So, Angelica, welcome back again. So, what we want to discuss now are some tips to our teenagers on how to continue coping. And we want to give them a list of agencies or entities, or persons that provide support and resources to help. But first, let's start with the tips.
The major thing here is to manage your thoughts. And everyone can. You know the thoughts that will cause you hurt,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that will cause you discomfort, those that will make you do not want to eat, sleep, or even talk to
Mm-hmm.
anybody, those that make you feel withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
When those come, think that they are coming to destroy you and you do not want to be destroyed. It's like you're running away from somebody who is going to kill you. So run away from them. How do you do that? Think better thoughts. In other words, when those thoughts come, find something different to focus on. Do
Something more
not
positive.
entertain them. Yes. Do
Mm-hmm.
not entertain them. Do not feed them with chocolate. No, or the TV. Don't feed them. Find something different. And I'm sure in your homes, there may be some books that you can read, even one page. And as I continue to say, when you shift your focus, then the feelings will be different. But you have to learn to continue to shift your focus because the thoughts will always come back until you're able to manage them well. So I don't want when the first time you tried and you get a minute of comfort and then it comes back, you start saying, no, it didn't work. It worked
Mm-hmm.
for a minute. So try it again. It might work for two and then
Mm-hmm.
three and then continued,
Mm-hmm.
continually they will, work. You have to do something for yourself because nobody can control your mind space but you. And God has given you that capacity. He has given you that power that you can control your mind. Yes, you can.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're normal and you're not having mental issues in terms of that which you have to be clinically treated for, you can. The way you think, what you think about your worldview,
Mm-hmm.
do something. You have so much creative skills inside of you. Make something creative. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
draw something. And if you love to do drama, put on some high heel shoes in the house and some weird things and go in front of the mirror and create your own space. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that and make yourself lively and do the exercise so that the dopamine can bring some life to you. There are so
Mm-hmm.
many tips. And talk. There are some that you're not able to deal with. Talk. If you
Mm-hmm.
cannot talk to your parents, reach out to your guidance counselor. I believe every child, let me say it the other way. I believe every counselor has opened up some line of contact for their students. I really believe that because the association supports that, the ministry
Mm-hmm.
supports that. So you have an access. And if you think you
Right.
don't have an access, ask the other person who has the access, and you will have that access. Because the
Mm-hmm.
counselor, just as I am doing, will
Mm-hmm.
spend time with you and guide you through. Each person is unique in their own thought pattern, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't ask the next person what the counselor did and expect it to be for you. You have to see the counselor for yourself.
So, right. So, can we give the teens a simple example of how to, replace the negative thoughts with the more positive ones? Say, for instance, I get up, I'm not going to school today because I can't be bothered this whole thing. What can I say to myself as a teen to change that negative thought?
Well, different things would work for different people because if
Mhm.
that teen has a career in mind, let's say that teen wants to be a something. In Jamaica, they want to be a doctor and they want to be all kind of. So you have
Lawyer.
a career in mind. Remember that COVID is not going anywhere. And if you lay down for 1 year expecting it to go, you have lost 1 year out of your
Mhm.
school life. And that one
Mhm.
year can put you 1 year behind. So don't stay
Mhm.
behind anybody. Be in front of the line at all times. You also need to understand that you are growing. So COVID
Mhm.
last year make us 1 year older. So if you were 12 last year, you're 13 this year. And this year you're going to be 14. So if you're waiting for COVID to stop and having those negative thoughts, you are going to reach to 21 without having your goal. So think about your goal. Think about who you want to be. And that is supposed to, I call it intrinsic motivation. Find it
Mhm.
inside of you. Don't allow your parents to be telling you, get up and go to class. No, man,
Mhm.
you need to go to class because guess
Mhm.
what? You are going to sit CXC anyway, CSEC. You're going to sit it
Mm-hmm.
anyway, COVID or no COVID, and you saw that. So be
Mm-hmm.
prepared. If it's grade 7 you are, start moving up. I believe that the schools are still giving awards. They are still measuring out these things based on how the children respond. They may not have them face to face, but there are different ways of measuring what they are doing and how they are doing things. And the schools are still motivating students through this award system or incentive system, whatever it is called, to help them to understand that, yes, we are commending you for what you do. So keep doing, talk to yourself and let yourself know that if you are left behind, it is about you and not COVID.
Okay. Thank you
Also, let me
so
just add
much for
this.
that.
People are still graduating. People are still having jobs. Life is still
Mm-hmm.
going on, even with the social
Mm-hmm.
distancing and the mask on. So the children, I want you to understand, do not stop your progress. Do not allow COVID to stop your progress. There are persons in your school, your counselors, your teachers, your principals, they're there supporting you, pushing you along, your parents. Don't be left behind. The onus is on you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me check with our studio facilitators. Do we have any more questions coming or comments from either WhatsApp or Facebook? Do we have any? While we wait on that, Angelica, is there anything else any final words you'd want to leave with our teens today, or the parents, or the teachers, or anyone for that
Well,
matter, as it
for the
concerns this
parents,
topic? Mhm.
I would really say understand your teens, understand their developmental challenges, and understand the other challenges that can be imposed on them. These things have been researched over the years, and we find that children, especially in this age group, are at risk to a number of things. Why? Because they're in between childhood and adulthood. They need to be helped so that they can transition from childhood into adulthood in a healthy way. So help them, understand their development, understand their challenges, and help them.
Mhm.
Listen to them. That's one of the key, because children are almost out of it because some parents are not listening.
Right. Let me read
Watch for
this.
verbal behaviors. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, let me read this comment from Travine. Says the devil that made this demon called COVID is a liar and father of lie. I'm under the blood of Jesus. Psalm
Amen.
91.
Amen,
Yes,
Shavine. I
amen.
love that. That's a good reframing. Very good.
Yeah,
Very good
yeah.
reframing.
Well, yeah, that's a good one to change the
Very good
negative thoughts,
reframing.
right?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. I tell you, they can do it.
Yeah.
They can do it.
Yes, they can. Well, I just want to share briefly. I have a teenager. She has been coping pretty well, but of course, there are times when, it becomes overwhelming because it seems as though the teachers give you more work to do because you're online. I'm not sure what the thinking is. That is what, I'm hearing from a lot of students, not just mine, but others that I may work with. They feel like it's a lot more work since online school, and every teacher gives you work as though you have no other course to do, no other subject to do. So it makes them stay up late trying to finish assignments and so on, feel like they don't get any break at all. But what I've told my clients is create a schedule, and you have to schedule your downtime, your time with no schoolwork, nobody bothering you, your alone time, your fun time. Because when you have a lot of work to do and you don't schedule it, it's like having a lot of money without a budget. It just goes like that. So you have to schedule your time. So that's my tip for the teens who
Yes,
are trying to combat this
yes.
online
And
thing.
the guidance counselors also been teaching them
Mhm,
time management, how to
mhm.
manage their time well. And persons would say it's not time management because time governs everything.
Right.
And they need to understand, be aware of that, and learn
Mhm.
to fill in. Sometimes it's overwhelming, yes. And if the teachers do not understand that the other teachers are giving a lot of work, then they will continue to give because the teachers want to know that you're not there wasting time.
Wasting time. Yes, and try as far as possible to attend all your classes because the more you miss, the more work piles upon you. Right?
That's right. That's right.
And, I mean, I have to throw in a word for family life, of course. We deal with teens here as well. We deal with all kinds of persons from all walks of life, as we say. So if you're having a challenge, feel free to have your parents call us at Family Life Ministries and we'll provide some assistance for you. I just want to thank you so much, Angelica. So remember, listeners, if you or someone you know would like counseling on dealing with any issue in family, relationships, or just everyday life or about COVID, please contact us. Contact our Family Life Ministries Family Life Ministries counselor, by calling our office. In Kingston, it's 926-8101. In Portmore, it's 939-7917. Or you can check out our website at familylifeministriesjamaica.com. So when you call us, we will link you with counselors all over the island. So if you're in Montego Bay and you can't make it to Kingston or Portmore, we have a counselor there. If you're in Portland, we have a counselor nearby. You can check our website, as I say. Thanks for being here with us. If you still got personal questions of your own, call us at Family Life Ministries or book an appointment with our receptionist. Find us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries, on Instagram at FLMJA, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. I'm Halcyon Reed. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 FM for another informative program. Thanks again to our special guest, Angelica Dalrymple. Thanks also to our show producer, Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, studio facilitator, Derval Graham, and of course, you, our listeners. Stay safe, stay well, and be blessed.
Thank you again for having the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education with you this afternoon. It was a pleasure being here. Blessings.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure to have you with us, and we really hope to have you again. That was a lovely conversation with you, Ms. Dalrymple. So we want to thank you for all your tips to our teens and our parents and our teachers. Right? Thank you so much. Yes, all the best with the rest of your work that you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.